Today is September the 12th. Whose authority did Jesus use? The Pharisees approached Jesus and asked him a question about whose authority he used to clear the temple. This is recorded in all three Gospels. Let's read Mark's account. Mark 11 from 27 to the end of the chapter. Again, they came to Jerusalem, and as he was walking in the temple, the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders came to him and said, "By what authority are you doing these things? Who gave you this authority to do them?" Jesus said to them, "I'll ask you also a question. Answer me, and I'll tell you by whose authority I do these things. Did the baptism of John come from heaven, or was it of human origin? Answer me." They argued with one another, "What should we say? If we say from heaven, he'll say, 'Then why didn't you believe him?' But if we say of human origin," they were afraid of the crowd, for they all regarded John as truly a prophet. So they answered Jesus, "We don't know." Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." Now, there's an exchange here. This all occurs in the context of Mark 11:18. The chief priests and the scribes kept looking for a way to destroy Jesus. How they figured they'd destroy him is by asking him a series of difficult questions. What they didn't count on was a series of amazingly wise answers. They asked Jesus, "Whose authority did you claim to clear the temple?" The issue of authority is also at the heart of Daniel chapter 3. That's the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Let's read Daniel 3, the first 30 verses.
Daniel 3, verses 1 through 30, New Revised Standard Edition. King Nebuchadnezzar made a golden statue whose height was 60 cubits and whose width was 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent for the satraps and the prefects and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to assemble and come to the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces assembled for the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. When they were standing before the statue that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and the entire musical ensemble, you are to fall down and worship the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire." Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Accordingly, at this time, certain Chaldeans came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble shall fall down and worship the golden statue, and whoever does not fall down and worship shall be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men pay no heed to you, O king. They do not serve your gods. They do not worship the golden statue you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in a furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought in. So they brought those men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods, and you do not worship the golden statue that I set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble, you should fall down and worship the statue I have made. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to present a defense to you in this matter. If our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire and out of your hand, O king, let him deliver us. But if he is not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, and we will not worship the golden statue you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, who was so filled with rage against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face was distorted, he ordered the furnace heated up 7 times more than was customary, and ordered some of the strongest guards in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So the men were bound, still wearing their tunics, their trousers, their hats, and their other garments, and they were thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. Because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace was so overheated, the raging flames killed the men who lifted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But the 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound, into the furnace of blazing fire. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up quickly. He said to his counselors, "Was it not 3 men that we threw bound into the fire?" They answered the king, "True, O king." He replied, "But I see 4 men, unbound, walking in the middle of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the 4th has the appearance of a god." Nebuchadnezzar then approached the door of the furnace of blazing fire and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here." So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And the satraps, the prefects, the governors, and the king's counselors gathered together and saw that the fire had not had any power over the bodies of those men. The hair of their heads was not singed, their tunics were not scorched, and not even the smell of fire came from them. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted him." They disobeyed the king's command and yielded up their bodies, rather than to serve and worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree: any people, nation, or language that utters blasphemy against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins. For there is no other God who is able to deliver in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.
Daniel 3 starts out with King Nebuchadnezzar claiming total authority, so much authority that even a statue of him would demand that you bow to the statue. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, "No. The authority over us is God, not Nebuchadnezzar. We will not bow before the statue." In fact, in verses 17 and 18, they say something absolutely amazing. God is capable of delivering us from the fiery furnace. But even if he doesn't, we will not bow to the statue. God's authority is total. It's supreme for these 3 friends. The scribes and the Pharisees came to Jesus and said, "By whose authority do you do these things?" Now, if Jesus had said, "By God's authority," the next question would have been, then why don't you submit to God's representatives, the priests? So Jesus instead asks them a question that they refuse to answer. Then Jesus says, "I won't answer either." What incredible wisdom. What do we do about this today? Well, it's a good day to spend some time in prayer to make sure that we are following God's authority. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. If you like what you heard today, share it with your friends.